So in my language courses, like my foreign language courses, they kept telling us to go for risk. I'd never quite figured out what that meant. If you tell people up front, like, you can try new things. I guess I've had other classes where I'm just like, okay, this sounds kind of funny. I could either lose points for it, or the professor will be amused by it, and usually the professor's amused by it. So, or the TA is. So, I guess that there are, just communicating that up front and saying, like if you want the papers to be dry, or if you want it to be very focused and academic, then that's one thing. But if you are willing to reward risk, you can just say that, I guess, and then see what happens. So also, like, having like creative in class activities that might also spawn that kind of like uh, willingness from the students to take risks, because then they can kind of interact with you and see, you know, what's acceptable, and in which ways they can be creative in their work.
I was in the colonization decolonization class. I think it was either a midterm or a final paper. It was like take a risk, literally. Where instead of we'd been writing a lot of papers that were, your normal like academic 5-page, some research papers, but a lot of very formal papers. I think it was maybe our midterm where he was like, take a risk. This one's styled to be like a letter, so you have to write it to someone who's non-fictional, and he had all these different like requirements within the letter, and it was cool to kind of step out of that non-formal or step out of that formal area, which he had already read. He was like, I already know what you're gonna say, so let's try this new different approach. And he was like, take a risk and have fun with it, basically. So, and then his grading reflected that. He knew we were taking a risk and having fun. So I think it really helped my mind kind of work around a lot of some really, really tough texts, especially that we were reading. Yeah.
I had a class that the professor facilitated the risk by kind of setting up an assignment between students that all of us felt it was really uncomfortable and awkward and weird. It was essentially a political science class, and we had to create 2 different committees that were going to have fake deliberations about a fake bill that was coming to pass. And all of us felt it was very silly and didn't want to do it. But they required that of us. And once we actually got engaged and got past the kind of social awkwardness and the risk that entailed from the student perspective of this is new and what are we doing? I thought I was going to read an essay or a book. Once they made that environment, we actually really learned a lot from it. And so it was actually, I would guess, in that sense, more of a risk that the professor took, trying something new on the student body. And the students could have just been like, this is dumb and I'm going to sit here and not talk. But we accepted the risk and got involved, and we learned a lot from it. So sometimes I think if the professor can initiate a little bit by leading by example, then it can set the tone.